Hello, Julie Stern here, and this video is to explain some basic alignment between the middle years program, MYP for International Baccalaureate, and LTT, Learning That Transfers. So here we have our unit planner, the Learning That Transfers unit planner, which is very easy to align perfectly with MYP. So the first thing that we have in our unit planner are real world contexts. We want to start off by thinking about what are some real world situations that we can incorporate into this unit. So I shouldn't say we start off there. We sort of start off with, okay, what is this unit about? What are the content standards, the learning outcomes that we want to put into the unit? And then from there, of course, what are some real world situations where students are going to apply their learning? And so we can put the global context here in the real world context. Over here we have what we call modern literacies. Though that is our umbrella term for all the sort of new skill sets, competencies, habits of mind that our young people need to navigate a complex world. So this could include digital citizenship, it can include social emotional learning. So we think for IB teachers, this is a perfect place to put the ATL focus and the learner profile attributes. What are these sort of modern things that's aspects or literacies that students need to navigate our complex world? Here in the learning standards or objectives, we can also put our statement of inquiry. So if you want to put that here, that's a good place to put your statement of inquiry. And then we talk about disciplinary lenses. We like to use that term because it's almost like what are the almost like glasses that students put on that we want them to use when they're looking at every single new situation. And so for us, we like to have disciplinary lenses throughout an entire academic year. And they could either be disciplinary lenses or trans or interdisciplinary lenses. So what does that mean? That you can either use related concepts that are specific to the discipline, if that's how you want to think about it, or you could think about it as key concepts so that they go across different disciplines. So that's a choice you can make there. For us, the anchor concepts are the most important concepts for one particular unit. So we think about disciplinary lenses go across an entire year and students are getting really good at it. That's the way we think about it, but we're also super flexible in all of these things. For us, the main thing is that there are levels of abstraction sort of built into concepts. Concepts exist along a continuum, along a spectrum from really specific, we call those sub-concepts, to really broad and more general that go across disciplines like change, pattern, cycle, relationships, which the IB calls key concepts. So for us, really, it's just making sure that there's a balance of these broad concepts as well as a depth of discipline-specific concepts that we call anchor and sub-concepts. So those are some places that you want to put your concepts, and we like to just sort of draw attention to the fact that the anchor concepts are the things that we want students to pay attention to, almost like the stars of our unit. So these, if you think about like a TV series, who are the characters that show up in almost every single episode? And then who are the friend, the neighbor, the colleague, work colleague, something like that. Those are what we would call sub-concepts. They don't show up in every single what we would call lesson or episode of the unit, but they do kind of feature in this unit. Those are what we call sub-concepts. So those would be what IB would either call related or things that aren't even in the subject guide that we think this is a really important concept for this particular unit of study. So we put those there. And then over here, what we call compelling questions are very related to what the MYP calls debatable questions. So they're things that invite or entice students to dive into the unit. And then essential for us is conceptual relationship questions. So when I see a question that says like, what is power? Even though power is, of course, a concept, I don't see that as a very rich conceptual question. I almost see that as almost more factual in the sense that it is what it is. Like, what is power? These are the critical attributes of power. What I see as really important conceptual relationship questions are how concepts are connected. So we've linked we've hyperlinked our conceptual relationship question stems here. They're simply questions that say, how does this concept interact with this concept? What's the relationship between these concepts? What's the connections between them? How do they affect each other? Those types of questions are crucial to point student attention to the deeper structural patterns of how the world is organized. And then sometimes the IB asks you to write out your KUDs, your knowledge, understandings, and your do's or skills, which can go here in the facts and skills section. So again, this is our, overarching overview of a unit plan, and then we go further into the unit storyboard of mapping out how a high-level overview of how are students going to acquire, connect, and transfer their learning multiple times in a unit. So we just wanted to point out how the components of the traditional unit planner for MYP align to LTT learning that transfers. Hope this was useful. Please keep in touch and let us know any questions you guys might have.